Prediction?
Yes, prediction.
Pain.
We run the clock. Super 16 is the cream of the crop. College football time of year, don't stop.
You're adding this guy.
Just another go dome with the courage, heart, skill, and will. Bringing you the best 16. Serving up a plate for the football fiends. Breaking the best 16 college teams. Football fans, just to show what you dream.
Ain't no bias. Chris Zorich breaking truth. Traded in the golden helmet in the past for a suit. With the tape, never lies. College ball, he's a stoop. Ranking the top 16, not the top 32.
I don't mean to cut you off like a Zorich jersey, but you ain't really grinding unless the jersey dirty. Hit the running back like a Mack truck behind the 30-yard line. It's game time. My team ride you off the sideline.
You look at Chris like this with a fact checklist, going over college teams like a 50 scientist. Steve streaking from his head like in his playing days. Super 16 polls on his show straight away.
It's the FBS, the best of the best from the ACC to the SEC. Pac-12, Big Ten, Mountain West, Sun Belt, and the Big 12. Open your eyelids. Who the best like the clock? Super 16 is the cream of the crop. College football time of year, don't stop. With Christopher Zorich, just another go dome with the courage, heart, skill, and will. Bringing you the best 16. Serving up a plate for the football fiends. Breaking the best 16 college teams. Football fans, just to show what your dreams.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another special edition of the Super 16 Championship Game Show. This is the culmination.
The bowl show, the Super Bowl. No, that's taken, Chris.
Exactly, and we would probably get fined like several millions of dollars for using the S Bowl, So let's not get fined. And let's just call it a championship game because
the championship
show.
Game show.
Okay.
Today we had a championship game show as well.
There you go. And before we get started, talking about the culmination of an amazing football season,
unbelievable season,
we have some news that actually happened sometime this afternoon that I think would make Phil a little happy.
Remember this? What was it? It was the best of times.
It was
the worst of times. That is the story today, Christopher Zorich. 3-time All-American, national champion, Notre Damer, CBS Defensive Player of the Year, John Madden.
There you go.
Madden,
baby.
All Madden. We got add that stat in there. I caught myself.
You did. Thank you for all the kids watching. Thank you very much.
That button.
Right.
Hey, listen. It's not hard, George.
He might be a big demand now, man. He might be. He might be.
George's wife is saying.
He might be in demand right now, Phil. I don't know, man.
I'm sure. I got a text right before we came on the show. Harbaugh in discussions for extension with Michigan. Listen, that's par for the course. This might be the thing. But listen, Jim, you love the NFL. There's a struggling, feeble franchise. And let's just get it out of the way. Obviously, we're going to talk about the national championship with me and my guy, Chris Zorich. He's been breaking down on our network and the Super 16 poll all season long, giving you the best teams according to Chris in the land. And we would jive and do our jokes and go through the analysis of these teams to get to this point where the two Giants stand on top. And we're going to get into the game. But obviously, all you Bears fans and Chris Zorich and Notre Dame fans know the travesty that has been the last 4 years with the Chicago Bears. For Chris, it might be the last 34 years with the Chicago Bears. Today was a day where I'm just going to keep it 100 with you. The Chicago Bears did what they should have done before, and they cleaned the slate. They wiped the slate clean.
I do have to ask a question. Were you surprised to hear Pace as well?
So I went to sleep, and someone
praying like a little kid praying.
I did, Chris. I swear. I was. Listen, my wife was tired. She's like, just cuddle with me. We watched the Bears. I had the show, BHL. I had an epic rant on that show. I don't know. I haven't even watched it yet, but I must have gotten 158 texts about, bro, you killed your rant. I haven't even heard it yet.
I saw some of it. It was great. It was exceptional.
Thank you. And Cherie was one of those people, and I just trust Cherie. You know, she's not blowing smoke. That being said, I'm watching King of Queens with my wife. Steph falls asleep in the middle of the second ep. So I turn the Raiders game back on. And I'm like, holy, what a game of foot. That was the most fun NFL game I've watched in so long. I just thoroughly enjoyed the game, and the strategy and how it ended was amazing. And the Bears connection there at the end with Staley and what he did. Anyway, to your point, I went into that prayer position and I said, God,
Black Friday,
clean house. I know. And I got a text literally like 38 seconds after I was turning everything off. And it's like, Pace is gone. Ryan and Matt will be gone. And I was like, dang, okay. We'll see though. You know, I want to see it.
Right.
That's how I am.
I believe you.
So it happens. And I'm ecstatic. And I'm on the phone with Shane, the smartest man, who's his Bama team is playing tonight.
Well deserved.
Yes, well deserved. He's like, but you gotta be worried about, is Ted Phillips going to be in this presser? And literally, Adam Johns reports it's going to be just George.
Okay.
And me and him are celebrating. Like, they're actually changed. It's going to be the owner. He's going to report, that means there's not going to be a president of football operations. Well, at least there's no Ted. The okie doke was pulled again by the Bears. It's Paula Abdul's Chicago Bears.
Wow.
2 steps forward, I take 2 steps back. We come together because the Bears are whacking. You know, it ain't fiction.
Paula Abdul.
That's impressive. We got to quote Paula tonight because she was right. We're taking 2 steps forward, Chris. Now we've taken 2 steps back. Today's presser was a travesty of epic purport. When they did the collaboration crew, TTNL crushed it last year, covering how stupid, how dumb, how completely moronic. You doubled down on stupidity. That meant Ryan had to go. So they did it. Then today, they spend the first 20 minutes praising Ryan and Matt as if there's the Pope has, passed away, and we're going to talk about him at his eulogy. It was confusing. It was belittling to the fan base. And Hector's probably right. 5 steps were taken back. It was a travesty like I've never seen, because not only did they F this up, but you find out these facts that for the first time we're answering to George. He responds. That means Ryan was answering to Ted, like we've said this whole time. So there's number one showcases. My Uncle Sam Rutigliano, head coach of the Cleveland Browns. You could go look him up, Google him. He told me in 1989, I remember it. It was because I was in high school playing football. Why? You love these Bears. He's like, they'll never win again. And he points out Ted Phillips they have an accountant, was his quote, making football moves with them. That's a true story. And it's still that way. It might have been 1990. I was in high school playing football, and I didn't believe them. I go, no, they're smarter than that. They're not. And today, how many years later? 1990. That's what, I can't even do the math. 37 years later. We're still doing the same things, and then throwing the diversity in the shade of that. It just doesn't sit well with me. Chris, Cherie, and I were doing a little research, like Vic Fangio would say. They hired these people, promoted them 4 months ago, 1 month apart, setting up this thing.
So, here's the thing. I mean, if you want to get a diverse committee, you went outside and got Napoleon, right?
Yes.
I'm sure there's another diverse individual throughout the NFL, who has a reputable reputation,
right?
Yet you bring in folks from within, right? So it really hasn't been working from when you guys do it yourselves, and you bring one guy from the outside. Now, granted, he's a heavyweight.
He's a good football resource to have, but he's 79 years old, and it's the same kind of Ernie Accorsi. Now, Ernie Accorsi was a shoe salesman. He's a nobody, in my opinion, but they attach themselves to him. Bill Polian has some merit. He has a lot of connections. He also broadcasted at ESPN. Great. But is Bill Polian's old crusty attitude towards somebody that could be a potential candidate as the only guy in there that knows candidates going to affect the hiring? He traded Jim Harbaugh, for example, out of Indianapolis. He traded for him, but also traded captain comeback to the Ravens. Is that going to deter Jim from coming here? That's your saving grace, is getting a Jim Harbaugh right now.
Well, but also, not sure if you did this type of research, but I did a little research.
Go ahead.
And found out that the current owner of the Miami Dolphins is a Michigan grad.
And he said today, I don't know if you heard.
Apparently I didn't, because I thought I was the one.
No, Brian Flores. They fired Brian Flores, which I was shocked that they fired Flores in Miami.
Right.
Because I thought he was turning this around. They won 7 out of their last 8. They swept the Patriots this year. And I figured this guy's building something. Nope, they fired him. So the timing of it, but Ross comes out and says, I'm not going to be the guy that takes Harbaugh away from Michigan. So that's weird to me, because this is all right, I get you love your school, but shouldn't you love your Dolphins more? I mean, what is
your current organization?
Yeah, your school gave you a free a degree that just folds.
Well, but he's also given several $100 million to the school as well. So they should be very happy about that.
I'm sure they are. And then that can allow him to go to the Dolphins, unfortunately, or the Raiders, because I don't know if anybody's going to want to work with Ted and George McCaskey.
But that's something we talked about before.
Yeah, right? You did.
If these guys are still running the show, I mean, the Bears have a reputation within the NFL. So are you going to get a Rex Ryan? Are you going to get a Jim Harbaugh? Are you going to get the top names for this job, or are you going to get some guys who are up and coming, who don't care? They just want a job. They want to prove themselves because they're currently assistant coaches.
Honestly, I'm sitting here and Cherie tells me right before the show that Doug Peterson's on the list. Now, listen, you got to do your due diligence. I'm of the belief that the GM should be hired before the coach. I just believe that, unless the coach is Jim Harbaugh, who's established himself that he can pick the guy he would like to work with, because if you look at historically, Trent Baalke was the reason why he left the 49ers.
Okay.
Because their relationship was so toxic that Jim called their bluff and said, listen, I'll go to the college game if we're not going to do it the right way here. And he did. He left because of Baalke. They kept Baalke, and you saw what happened. They collapsed. Jim turned them around from Tom Sula and your idol, Mike Singletary. That organization was the Bears.
Right.
They were dead in the water without George Seifert. When he left, that went like this. Boom. Now, you know the rest is it. Shanahan wins. They're going to the playoffs. The 49ers, the Bears are still championing how they got out of a 6-game losing streak, Chris. They were able to do that. That's what we're going to champion. We got out of a 6. Ryan Pace has done a wonderful job here. He's gotten us a lot of talent. David Montgomery and Roquan Smith are great. He talks about 2 players. He forgets Robert Quinn broke the sack record. He doesn't talk about Khalil Mack. He doesn't talk about Justin.
Well, I also thought it was interesting talking about when he mentioned that. I think he said Nagy's kids are going to be upset or something like that. I just kind of thought that was weird.
That was the beginning of Ashery. The beginning of this presser is something that I'm telling you, I've been around a lot of people on all levels of bread, we'll say. I've been around people that have none, and I've been around billionaires. That was the most indicting thing I've ever seen out of a person trying to use and deflect. First, he started out with Jeff Dickerson and the loss of him. And then he went on an epitaph of sheer utter defense mode in scolding people for fire Nagy chants towards Matt Nagy's children. The coach's kids should be off limits. Well, you were once a coach's grandkid. This is crazy that you're even talking about this in the end of the year firing dismissal of your GM and your coach. It is so small town stupid. It honestly is like we walked in, remember the yellow brick road, you know, all of a sudden we walked down the yellow brick road and we're thinking it's like this. You know what have you seen this show Shamadoo on Apple?
I think I missed that one. What is that?
Oh my God. So you got to check this out. I was hesitant, but this is Shamadoo right here. Okay. The Bears. It's a story. These couple, they're having troubles that they're going on a retreat together, right?
Okay. They
go into the woods, and all of a sudden, they're in like a musical. They walk across this bridge. They hear a bell.
Okay.
And they're in a musical. So the scene changes, and everybody's singing. And he's like, what the hell is... And it's hilariously creative.
Okay.
This is what I felt like. I'm in a musical with Joe. I'm singing Paula Abdul. How stupid can you be?
Wow.
Shemagadoon. That's it. Shemagadoon. It's on Apple TV. You'll have to check that out. I thought it was creative. You have to stay with it. There's some corny stuff, but it really is. Ted Lasso, Facebook user, please check the stream and do that. Great show as well. That's Ted as well. Ted Lasso is George McCaskey is the president of the Chicago, or whatever is the chairman of the Bear. Now, Chris, the other thing we find out is that George answers to his family. That's who's in charge of George. Who holds you account? Who accounts? Pat McCaskey, Jim McCaskey, Virginia McCaskey, this McCaskey, Pat Ryan, Ted Phillips is on this. So this board is like inside trading. It's like there's no way anybody's held accountable. And it's like you could do whatever the heck you want to do. And it's a big bafangu to the fans. That's what it was today. And it's terrible on every level of my being of football, because the last part of this is the shots at Olin Kreutz.
I did not understand. I mean, really, come on.
They ask him the question because it is true. Why would Olin, and all it takes is one call to your boy Harry Hiestand, and then the ship has finally sunk, because Harry could say, yeah, that's a true story. That's what they said. And George could have just easily went over there. Listen, no comment there. I didn't see it. Whatever you got to do. But instead, I would take whatever Olin says with a grain of salt. And then doubles down on him being somebody. It was a huge. And Olin Kreutz, Chris, will be jumping on Keeping It 100 this Wednesday night.
That'll be fun.
Oh, you think that's going to be exciting?
That'll be fun.
Wednesday night, Olin Kreutz. Those of you Bears fan, he will be coming on the show to address George McCaskey, the Chicago Bears, and all of the issues that we've talked about today. Was good and bad. Listen, at the end of the day, final point, and then we'll move on to the championship game, Chris. Final point here is you just got to hope and pray that they get this right. That's it. You know, the chances, you got to hope Bill Polian's connection somehow uncover. Like, say the GM is Morocco Brown, who has history with the Chicago Bears, and he comes over here and he puts his foot down, and it's down to 3 candidates. That Morocco Brown's influence, other than these unknowns and whoever the hells and the antiquated Bill Polian. I wanted Olin Kreutz for that job. You could see.
You definitely. I don't think that's going to happen.
You think that will ever happen?
I don't think so.
No, exactly. He said they called Harry and Ryan Pace to get clarification on the deal. Yeah, Olin ain't going to lie on that. Why? Why would he do that? So the real trouble is this franchise. And Olin will have your questions, have your popcorn ready Wednesday night. You'll see Olin react truthfully for me and Shane when it comes to that interview. Because honestly, I told you before the show, I literally I welled up in the eyes, right, Cherie? That it upset me so much, because here's somebody that I think really would be a great voice that is opposite of what you have always done. So if you keep doing something one way all the time and it always fails, that's the definition of insanity, right? So maybe somebody like Olin, that you guys don't like each other really, but the common good is at stake here because he loves the team. Like I love the team. I was wearing a Bears sweatshirt today after the presser, back into my TTNL hoodie until I see what is going down. And that's where we are, Chris. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. That's where we are still. Now we have to wait. Are they going to hire another shoe salesman? Are they going to do that? If they get a good football, I mean, me and you could talk for hours on this. You know, the candidates, Doug Peterson, Leslie Frazier.
But you also have to think, I think Bill Polian's reputation is on the line too. I mean, this is someone who's supposed to be respected in the community. Again, at age 79, I kind of think you've kind of accomplished all you want to at that point. So, I mean, is he really going to care what people are going to think? You know, which I think is going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be. And I see Sal Hamani. Once the head coach is gone and the GM, I'm sure if they're under contract, they delicately lay there until they've heard from administration. But in a coach's world, when the head coach is gone, the tendency is that all the coaches tend to be gone. And then
Yep.
if anybody's under contract until they hire a new coach, they can stay around the facility and the coach can interview them if he wants to obtain them. But 96% of the time, you're going to see hasta luego when the GM and the coach are gone. That's a complete house of cards falling.
Yes.
So
and all the coaches know that. So it's not like, I remember when I was at Chicago State and we let our current basketball coach go, and the assistant coach was kind of like, I don't have a job. I'm like, no, like really, like he's like, oh, I don't know, I don't realize that. I was like, wow, how long have you been a college coach? So it was kind of interesting, and that's really, it's college, pro, same thing.
It really is. And yeah, as my boy Donnie Crouch, he's saying, no, nobody's burning the midnight oil. This is it. Obviously, we're going to be talking about this a lot. And Chris, we obviously are going to want you to jump on our show
anytime
to talk about this stuff too as we move forward. But you being TTNL and family here, obviously we'll be breaking this stuff down all off season. Will they get it right? Do I trust these guys? Do you anybody trust them? No, I don't trust them. Bill Polian is like the ice in my Di-Serona. Okay. It's hopeful that it's top shelf. We're hopeful that it's top shelf there. We're hopeful. It might not be. That's the only thing. George and Ted, 0. After today, when I thought collaboration couldn't be worse, they got worse. So yeah, I don't trust them any. And Jeremy, Olin is on the show this week. He will be on Keeping It 100. Where were you? So yes, Olin Kreutz, Keeping It 100. Address this whole thing with the McCaskies and the BS and what have you. As far as breaking news, anytime that drops, we'll be going live on our patron side. Sign up to become a patron, thetapeneverlies.com. Anybody else? I don't know as of now. We've only heard Cherie, Doug Peterson, Leslie Frazier. Those are the only 2 coaches I've heard. Morocco Brown was the only mention of a GM. As they come forward in official status, we can comment more on it. Do I like Doug Peterson? Chris, do you believe in Doug Peterson?
Isn't he the current O-line coach at Alabama?
No, Doug was he might be.
Oh, no, that's
the
Doug
former
Marrone.
Eagles.
That's Doug Marrone.
Coach.
I'm sorry. That's Doug Marrone.
Not Doug Marrone. Doug Marrone was the Jags coach. Now he's with the Alabama.
Right.
Doug Peterson was the former Packers backup quarterback, came a head coach, went to the Super Bowl, won it with Nick Foles.
Nice.
Do you trust that guy?
Nice. He won it. He won
a Super Bowl.
What's he doing now?
What's that?
What is he doing now?
He sat out. He did make a visit to Hallis Hall this offseason, though. So he came in and was collaborating with Matt Nagy.
He was consulting.
He was consulting. $15 an hour.
At $15 an hour. Wow.
$17.50. Come on.
Wow.
No, he did go there and consult. So we'll see. Those are the only 2 names. Brian Flores. I did not see that firing coming. He's definitely someone I would want to talk to. That's all I could say. Greg Roman. I can go down the list. McDaniels. These are the guys that you should. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh is the top of the list. That should be what they're doing right, collaborating with right now with Bill Polian and his connection to Jim Harbaugh, traded from Chicago to Indianapolis, or he was a free agent. I can't remember. And Bill Polian signed him. They called him Captain Comeback. I still remember that game in the 90s where Jim throws the Hail Mary to beat the Steeler and the receiver drops the ball. And that was the end of it. And then they had gotten Peyton Manning and the rest of history. So we'll see. We'll see, Chris. As far as this game, hit the like button, you slackers. I like Ken Vance. We're doing something different.
You, Ken.
Ken is a great supporter of TTNL. We're doing something different. This is the pregame show to the national championship game. Georgia versus Alabama, here with the former 3-time All-American defensive tackle, Walter Camp All-American.
All-Madden.
All-Madden.
Yep.
Yeah, we're adding that to we got to add that to your graphic.
Okay.
All-Madden. Second-round pick of the Chicago Bears, defensive tackle, Chris Zorich. Chris, tonight's game, the heavyweight bout. Part two. Did Rocky beat Apollo in part 2?
I don't remember.
Yes, he did.
See, I don't remember.
Yo, Adrian.
Wait, I thought that was the first one.
That was part 2. We did it.
Adrian was the first one. I thought that was the first one.
No, yo, Adrian's part 2.
Okay, I have to admit,
I gotta watch them all again now.
Yes, apparently I do.
We gotta watch them all again tonight. Roll Tide, Heidi Trone says.
I think that's interesting, considering the research I've been doing and kind of listening, watching ESPN, everything else. A lot of people really are talking about Georgia winning this, and
Yeah.
I'm amazed because everybody seems to forget the SEC championship game. And it's one of those things where I think that it's that Nick Saban bias.
Yeah, I mean, Saban in big games has been historically amazing. From changing the quarterbacks at halftime.
Amazing. Who does that?
In the national championship game, with a freshman, goes out there and wins that game. I mean, the things that Nick Saban has done in these big time moments are the reason why Chris Zorich has shown no bias in this show or on this network when it comes to his affection for Coach Nick Saban. That, to me, the better coach tonight wins or the better players win. I think tonight you're looking at 2 teams with amazing players.
Mm-hmm.
So it is going to come down to the strategy of what coaching staff has the game plan that's going to attack the weakness or find that mismatch in this game, Chris.
Sure. And I think what's going to be interesting is that I think the monkey on Kirby Smart's back, the head coach for Georgia, is still on there saying, hey, can I beat Nick Saban? And that's the thing that no one's been able to do except Jimbo Fisher this past year, right? So I think there's been 14 or 16 attempts, and he's been the only one. That being said, I think that they're very comparable. I think it's going to be interesting because this defense that we've talked about all year, the phenomenal defense, I think was maybe second in Georgia history, like 1952 or something like that, with points allowed, going up to the SEC championship game. So it's just one of those things where it's going to be Alabama's defense Georgia's defense against Alabama's offense. And I think what's the key to the game for me is going to be looking at, hey, can Alabama's offensive line, who's had some injuries, can they sustain themselves against Georgia's defensive line, which was the premise we talked about in the SEC championship game, right? I mean, this is one of the things that people were saying, hey, and at that point, I think there was going to be one new starter on Alabama's offensive line, and everybody was terrified.
Right.
And you saw that result. And so a lot of people are saying, look, first of all, it's hard to beat a team twice in a year. I mean, we all know that. but understanding, I mean, these are two great teams. And the fact that Alabama handedly in the first half just really kind of rolled on Georgia, I think is in the SEC championship game, folks are forgetting that. And I think it's so funny because everybody's kind of going under this whole underdog thing, which I'm all for, right? I mean, I'm all for the underdog, the undersized guy, but we're talking about two great programs, right? And they were talking about, it was interesting because they were talking about Georgia in the first game. Hey, this is the great Alabama. This is Nick Saban. It's going to be so hard for Georgia to actually beat Alabama. So they were doing that kind of underdog thing then. And I think going into the game, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Alabama like a 14-point underdog? I mean, it was bad. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia, you and I, and you always gave the throne to Alabama, and then Georgia was just dominant like we hadn't seen in 30, 40 years of defensive football.
Exactly.
They weren't allowing people to score touchdowns at all. And just destroying people. Then Alabama has this resurgence. I mean, that drive, let's not forget, it was 97 yards. The young buck goes down the football field. And listen, it's just like a video game for people. No football game played twice is ever the same.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The same situations are going to come up. There's similarities. There's going to be matchups. This is going to come down to who's prepared, who's motivated.
Absolutely.
That motivated factor, as you know, you talked about it previously, Coach Holtz, and you broke down that you went into a minor and you had Coach, from Cincinnati.
Luke Fickle.
No, the former coach. Defensive coordinator at Notre Dame.
Minter.
Coach Minter.
Yeah.
And Coach Minter was talking about what you had already spoken about, is that Lou Holtz went into training camp mode, spring ball mode, technique, fundamental mode. How do they go after, 11 days they've been off now? How do they attack each other? They played each other before. How do they do it? We're going to see this play out on the grandest of stages. I'm hoping for a great game. I don't want to see what happened to Michigan versus Georgia happen again tonight. I don't want to see what Alabama did to Cincinnati. Both those teams showed that they both belong here. Let's just put it that. They both have two teams with rosters that are going to be the whole Georgia defense will be drafted into the NFL.
Exactly. And here's the thing. It's interesting because when you look at the score of the SEC championship, 41-24, I mean, no one thought that would happen. I mean, I think that, when you talk about two good SEC teams, and so, people were stunned after that game. And then you look at what folks were saying, and again, I understand that this is a replay of a game, and so ESPN, they have to do the whole controversy thing. So they have, hey, you two guys are for Bama, you two guys are for Georgia, go at it, right? They have to keep people interested because technically this game happened a couple weeks ago. Okay. Exactly. So that's the hard thing, right? And so even then, and we talked about this before, we had Cincinnati playing against Alabama. And there were a couple of guys that were always pro Cincinnati. Again, ESPN, hey guys, you guys are Cincinnati.
Yeah. Who picked Cincinnati over Alabama? I want to know who
come on, everybody. Well, hey, they had a great defensive backfield. They had tough guys. Hey, they have regional players playing against 5- and 4-star guys. Period. that just doesn't happen. I'm sorry. And again, that was kind of my little rant. That I was tired of it. So we finally have two good teams playing again, right? And so now I think, as I said before, it's going to be challenging for Alabama to think that they can go out there and beat. Now, I don't think they have that idea. I know that they know, hey, it's hard to beat teams twice in a year, and they know how good Georgia is because they played against them.
Right.
So this idea of, Alabama thinking they're just going to roll over them because they beat them last game, absolutely not. And Nick Saban is the perfect person to have as your coach if you're going to be in this situation to have to beat a great team again.
Yeah, there's nobody that does it better than Nick in the biggest games. I think there is a history for Nick, and he's got some weapons there. So the quarterback, listen, this young kid from Georgia has made, I was listening to, what's his name, on ESPN, the broadcaster, not McShay, the other guy, the former Alabama quarterback. What's his name?
Mick something.
Mick.
No.
What the heck's his name? He played for the Jets.
Yes.
Anyway, he goes, well, this kid's not going to be an NFL quarterback. He's talking about Stetson. I go, what? This kid's story. Walk on, 11th quarterback on the roster.
Bounced, came back, got invited back, got a scholar. Come on.
What are you exactly, Ban Jovi? It's like he's McLovin. That's it. He's McLovin. That's who he is. You're writing his NFL, his career. I'm watching him play against Michigan, and he's getting out of trouble, keeping his team alive. If he wasn't able to do that stuff, Michigan might have made it a game. But he kept getting out of every equation they threw at him.
He's a great player. He's really great.
If
I'm not mistaken,
go ahead.
Mm-hmm. We're talking about Bennett, Stetson Bennett.
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he quarterback at like Mississippi Community College or something like that?
Yeah, he went to a small school, walked on. Yeah, he got recruited by all small schools. His story is unbelievable. And he's like, I saw the interview where he's getting messed up with the earpiece. He's this effing earpiece. They're swearing on them. He was getting fired up. And I go, I love this kid even more now. Because he was just very articulate to truth in what he's saying. And he is a wild card in this game. Obviously, Anderson from Alabama is, I thought, the defensive tackle from Georgia. Now, you and I saw him get gassed when they lost to Alabama. Alabama is probably going to use that same kind of formula. No huddle, quick game, try to gas them out tonight.
And you saw it actually worked against Cincinnati as well.
Exactly.
And they were like, wait, how are these big dudes doing this? They're doing no huddle and they're dominating. Damn, so that puts you in a bind when Alabama is going quick game against you and their big men aren't heavy breathing. They're just going down. So yeah, he isn't the game wrecker when he's tired. So Alabama has this kid Anderson, number 31, that's a game wrecker and never gets tired. Right.
He's just constant and he's dominant.
Right.
And if I had to, I would put him over the kid from Michigan. I like Hutchinson, but the kid Anderson, if I was drafting first overall and I needed an edge rusher, it's Anderson over Hutchinson, in my opinion, 100%.
But I also think that he's a sophomore, so he's not even eligible to come out yet.
No, I know.
Right?
I'm just saying that's how dominant this kid is.
Exactly. And I think it was interesting because they were talking about after the game, some folks were saying, okay, he's supposed to be the number one pick, but he had like 3 tackles against Georgia. So they were kind of like, well, what happened? And they were kind of showing a couple things on social media. He was kind of getting dominated. But, I mean, that's the pressure of being kind of called the number one. But one of the things I think is interesting is that this is what I fear a little bit with Georgia is that they have 2 great running backs, right? White and Book. And they have a combined yardage of, I think, like 1,500 yards, whereas Alabama, I mean, they just have Johnson, who is a great running back, right? And he's had over 1,200 yards this year. But when you have that 1-2 punch, I mean, they both, I think, have like over 600 yards. I mean,
right.
It's. I think it's going to cause some havoc for Alabama's defense because when you have 2 good backs, I mean, you know, even if you have them in the game at the same time, that's even double trouble. But if you give one a blow and then literally a couple plays later the other one's in, I mean, the defense has no rest.
I agree, but Alabama has this kid Robinson, and he is treacherous. He is a downhill. So that's where all of this stuff becomes pertinent. Now you have something to counter, and the guy's name was Greg McElroy.
Yes, McElroy. Sorry. Thank you.
Former Alabama quarterback.
Yes.
And
current ESPN announcer.
Yeah, he's an analyst at college football analyst, and he was saying he's already decided that Stetson could never play in the NFL, even though he himself did. And Stetson is a much better quarterback than you are, Greg. I'm just letting you know that. So,
well, oftentimes folks have their own bias, right? Come on, you know.
I'm keeping it 100. But yeah, the running games on both sides. This coach Kirby has to be smart.
Hey, no pun intended.
And how he attacked them the first time didn't work. So you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do differently because Nick is going to have an answer for a lot. Now, what you did against Michigan would be what I would do again tonight and try to get ready for a fist fight. Like, who's going to out-physical the other person? That's really going to be the story. So the running game, to your point, is going to be the story. And then when the game's on the line in those 2 minutes offenses, Bryce Young has been able to be dynamic like you and I have never seen. I have never seen at this age a quarterback so composed.
Oh, my gosh.
Poised.
Oh my gosh. Amazing.
Nothing rattles him, and he's not in the very slightest I wouldn't. What's the right word? Arrogant.
Well,
he's not cocky.
Point, well, and here's the thing, but to the point, it's almost to the point where people have said, "Hey, does he even care?" Because, like, literally, he's so calm. Like, there's a touchdown, and he's not running down. He's just like, "All right," you know. And it's like, "Whoa, like, man, does this guy care?" It's like, excuse me, does he care? He's like so zoned in and focused. I mean, Bill O'Brien, the offensive coordinator and former NFL coach, old coach at Penn State, has talked about he's one of the best quarterbacks he's ever worked with. And this kid's a sophomore.
Bill O'Brien on the interview list, according to sources.
Hey, I'm sure Nick's whole staff, considering how many former head coaches there are there.
Bill O'Brien at him. Shane's rolling over, going crazy if Bill O'Brien becomes the next head coach of the Bears. He also interviewed with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Bill O'Brien.
Interesting.
Didn't he just coach there? Where was Bill O'Brien? I was at the Houston Texans.
Yep, Texans.
Same division. They're interviewing him. Like, didn't they learn?
That's what happens, man.
Hey, listen.
Recycles.
Bill O'Brien, offensive line coach. Offensive coordinator for Alabama tonight.
Doug Marrone, former head coach, is the offensive line coach. Former NFL head coach is the offensive line coach.
2 former head coaches on the staff. Offensive line coach, O'Brien, did you see the rumor? Our boy Lane Kiffin might be going to the Minnesota Vikings.
What?
Did you hear that?
Come on.
Yes.
Come on.
That was talked about today, Chris. I
this-
thought about you when they asked me about it. I
We
was
talked
like,
about this.
why can't you just stay and establish a program? When's he leaving Minnesota for?
Right, exactly.
This guy leaves more than free Fantasy Island. The plane. He's going
okay,
again.
I didn't get that one. But okay, sure.
Going again. He's going.
Okay, I see. All right, okay.
Got it.
But okay, I could say made faster than an air traffic controller, but really the plane. Okay. But I mean, I think the longest he stayed somewhere is like 4 years. Come on.
This guy he's like the Bears head coach. He just,
here we go.
After every 4 years, get another one.
Okay. See, I could see that.
We regressed.
I could see that.
Collaborated. We
Well, I'm excited, but more importantly,
yes,
I think it's going to be exciting is that we have a chance to kind of hang out with everybody after the game as well.
After the game, we'll be live breaking it down. What were the critical plays? What were the moments that decided this one?
Alabama's offensive line versus Georgia's D line. I think that's one thing we got to think about. We have to think about who's going to take the place on
big play receivers, Chris.
Well, that's the thing. John Mechie is out for Alabama, but
Williams
is throwing up some yards. I mean, exactly. So, but again, this is what people are saying, right? And so I think that Williams will actually take on that responsibility and do well. So I'm going to ask you this. We haven't talked about this. What is your prediction for a score?
We were going to do bold predictions. Cherie has already given her prediction up there.
There you go. Thank you, Cherie.
I want everybody in the chat listening. I want to see your predictions here. 34-28. She's got Bama.
Okay.
You guys in your predictions, he's just saying Bama. 1,000 to 6. Right here, we got Jim Summers, 40.
All right, Jim, thank you. I like that. Okay, Bama.
Emmanuel, we need. Oh, he got the name. He got the team.
Okay, Bama.
He's got Bama. There's 3 for Bama.
Are there any Georgia Bulldogs? Because I
saw a couple people starting the show like Georgia.
Georgia.
Look at Anthony Victor. He met you at a car dealership. You gave him some advice. You'll never forget.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I wanted to give you. There's my boy Chris Brown.
Okay. So
27-20. He's got Georgia.
Okay.
51.
Woo! Wow. Okay.
51.
I love it.
21-0. Dogs like Bama's.
It's gonna be a revenge game. I like
Beals. Is that Jennifer Beals? She's pulling.
No, she's too busy in maybe the Book of Boba Fett, which you haven't watched yet, have you?
Oh, I did.
Oh,
I loved it,
okay.
Chris.
Best Disney Plus Star Wars show. Yes.
People were hating. Donnie Crouch 35-21 roll tide. People have been hating on Boba Fett.
No, well, the reason why is because they don't like them going back. Dude, I love learning about them, didn't you?
Oh my God!
Exactly. That builds the backstory. Everybody's bitching. He was he was with the Sand People too long, and come on, he had to learn. We
have to learn his story.
Exactly.
Number 1. Number 2, how did I love Boba Fett when he was only in such a short period? I remember being a kid and I was obsessed with Boba Fett.
Everybody loved him. Everybody loved him.
How did they drop the ball on not making a Boba Fett movie back in the 80s?
Well, thank God they didn't because
you're right. You're right.
Special effects weren't there, so we're granted. And I have to send you some stuff, man, because there's a whole bunch of stuff that's changing over at Lucasfilms and with Star Wars and stuff like that. Yes. Like George Lucas is coming back and all this other stuff. So
28-14, Michael Gray.
There we go. Okay.
Georgia.
All right. I see you.
15-17. Sorry, Cherie. We were talking. Put them up again. 15-17, Bradley Wendling Ralph Barf, 42-20.
There we go.
He's got Saban. Bama again. Bon Jovi,
All right.
36-21, 31-30, Steve. I gotta go with Alabama, Chris.
Okay.
I honestly, I was surprised at Georgia, the way they dominated Michigan. But again, after talking with you, I shouldn't have been so surprised because we were praising this defense. They have to get over that thing in their head, that intimidating factor that Bama is the team. They need to say, we're the team to beat. Can they do that?
Right.
This is the key. The mental fortitude that Georgia has in this game is going to be the key for them to be victorious. I got it 28-21, 31-21.
31-20. Okay.
31-21,
Okay.
Alabama. I got a 10-point victory. How about you?
I'm going to be a little bit more conservative than that. I'm going to say Bama, but I'm going to say 16-14.
Wow, you're going close, low-scoring game.
I'm telling you, man. I feel it, man. I think that you have the revenge factor in Georgia, but you have an already established program in Alabama. 16-14.
So you got Bama again.
Yes, sir.
Both of us going Bama. Cherie going Bama. It's the trifecta here on the Super 16 Championship show with me and Chris, the pregame show. We're going to be live immediately after the final whistle blows. We'll be right back here. Please come back, check in with us. We're talking more about Boba Fett. Who was the
Jennifer
Boba
Beal running the cantina?
Was it Beal? She was Flashdance, right? I had such a crush on her.
Yes. She does not look like she changed 1 year.
Really?
I
missed that part. I got to tell you the quick story.
She runs the club. She runs the club,
I go, where was she?
Really?
You know, the cartoons at the end?
Right.
I go, who is that?
She's running the club.
You missed that part.
She's a Twilark or Twilight something or whatever.
Oh, my God.
The two things.
Anybody hating on the backstories of Boba Fett shouldn't watch Boba Fett, in my opinion.
There you go. I like it.
In my opinion. Now, I'm only confused about one thing before we go.
Okay,
I need your help here.
Okay.
When he crawls out of the sand dune in that thing,
right?
That's right after that's in the Return of the Jedi, right?
Right.
So that's where the story starts, or now each time he's in this bubble.
Right. Every time he's in the bubble, he's having a backstory. He's thinking, because he was thinking back when he was a kid.
Right. I saw that.
You know, saw his dad leave for the last time and everything else. Yeah. And what was interesting was that, you know, the whole process meant that it takes years for your body to digest in this monster, right? So that's kind of how so we knew that everybody thought, okay, hey, he was gone.
Yes.
The first episode, but then we realized, hey, he's okay. He went and grabbed the hose from the stormtrooper, got some air, and then, you know, fired his way out of there. So, yeah, man.
I'm excited. I love it too, man. My son loves it, and my wife loves it more than everybody.
That's great.
He's like, how can anybody not love this? This is amazing. I was like, you like it that much? Wait till I tell her.
Nice.
We're on the same level.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
Disney Plus Star Wars they had to offer.
There you go. From Chris Zorich's mouth. We talk all things, bantering back and forth here with me and Chris. We'll see you live right after the national championship, Alabama versus Georgia. We got to hear 31-21. I got 16-14. Zorich has, and Cherie has 24-15, was it? 28-24? What?
28-24, sure. I think
that's what I think she had. Cherie's looking up herself. You got to know your 34-28 she had. There it is.
All right.
Oh, she was typing. My bad, Cherie.
There you go.
Guys, we'll see you right after the championship. I hope you enjoyed this pop-up show to get you ready for the national championship. He's Chris Zorich, the 3-time All-American, former Chicago Bear. I'm your guy, Draft Dr. Phil. This has been a special presentation of TTNL. There you go.
That's nice. That's awesome.
Like
That's
that
very
too.
dramatic. I like it.
It is. Chris Zorich, I'll see you right after the game.
See you in a few hours, bro.
We love you guys. God bless all of you. Wednesday, Olin Kreutz will be coming on, keeping it 100. Tune in. We're going to have a lot of fun. See you later. Goodbye. Later. Thanks for watching the Super 16 Poll Show with Chris Zorich. Like, subscribe, and comment. This has been a special presentation of the Tape Never Lies Network. Performance